Imagine starting your day with the usual routine, boarding the school bus, chatting with friends, and expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But suddenly something terrifying happens, and that familiar ride changes into a nightmare, as if the road ahead was filled with eerie incidents, mysterious disappearances, and horrifying moments that no one could explain. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to explore 5 of the scariest things that happen to school buses. These strange things not only haunt but also confuse people, that what seems to be a safe source of transport could actually be a place with terrifying stories. 1. The Phantom School Bus. Virginia, USA, in the early 1970s, people from a small town in West Virginia began to speak simultaneously about ghost school bus appearances. According to stories, this ghost bus appeared at night from nowhere, with blazing headlights, traveling down rural roads, and leaving terrified observers breathless. Those who reportedly saw it described it as a scarily ghostly empty bus, with lights inside flickering and a chipped windshield. Some even said they'd see shadowy figures moving inside, but nobody had ever seen the bus driver. The story of the Phantom Bus began with a real school bus that skidded off a wet road and plunged into a river during a fierce rainstorm in 1968. This bus was full, carrying 25 school children who had just completed an event. Yet in spite of all rescue efforts, the swaying current washed the bus away, and it was hours before they could recover it. By then, it was already too late. Only a few children lived to tell the tale. The driver was among the dead. Multiple reports of the ghost bus followed right after the accident. People mentioned having seen it drive down the road where the accident happened, blaring with its horn. People at the scene said that the bus had disappeared by the time they walked to where it was, and they could only see tire marks on the pavement because of the rain. Others heard kids laughing while the whiz passed. By far, however, the scariest of these accounts were those of people claiming to have been driving behind the bus when it just disappeared before their very eyes. To stand there, shocked and disbelieving. Some believed it was a foreboding of deaths to come, while others believed it was their lost souls trying to get home. Afterwards, the ghostly bus entered the folklore of the area, and drivers started avoiding the road where the accident happened, especially during foggy nights. Stories of the bus lived on for years following the accident. Some say the bus is still seen today, with its headlights cutting through the fog like a freakish pair of eyes. 2. The Disappearing Bus, Malaysia. In 2010, a school bus with 30 children disappeared in the Malaysian countryside, leaving behind a trail of confusion and fear. This bus, familiar with its route in the dense jungles of Pahang State, was last seen by a passerby entering a forested area. The bus did not show up at school. Parents and children were shaken with worry. It did not take very long before the authorities were alerted. A search mission was assembled as the villagers joined the police to comb the area. Hours turned into days, and not a sign of the bus and its occupants to be found. Some locals whispered about forest spirits or the legendary Orang Bunian, mythical beings believed to live in jungles and abduct those who stray into them. The authorities kept trying to locate the bus and the students, along with their driver. There was no trace at all. Extensive searches left the authorities clueless, and with every passing day, hopes of finding them alive began to dwindle. Then almost a week later, something even more bizarre happened. The bus now reappeared at the same place it had vanished. It was undamaged, and the students were inside it, safe but confused. When questioned about the accident, the students and the driver claimed absolutely no memory of the missing days. All of them insisted that it had been only a few hours since they had entered the forest. They were found to be medically healthy, although dehydrated. This puzzled the authorities and eventually was put down to mass hysteria, but many more still believed the bus and its occupants experienced something far beyond the scope of normal. It would be one of the most puzzling disappearances ever to befall Malaysia. In fact, till today, no one knows where the bus, together with its passengers, had gone during those missing days or what really had happened to them. 3. The Cursed Bus, Anjara, Jordan. In Anjara, Jordan, there is a story of a school bus that is said to be cursed and held responsible for a tragic accident wherein all on board lost their lives. It started in the 1980s when a school bus carrying 40 children veered off the road and plunged into a ravine. No one survived the horrific crash, and the bus was completely destroyed. The tragedy shocked the community, but what happened afterward is what turned the event into a legend. According to local reports, portions of the remains of the bus were never quite cleared away. Slowly rusting and being reclaimed by nature, they remained scattered in that ravine. Then strange things began to happen. According to people who visited this crash site, they testified that one could hear the sounds of children laughing and playing while there would be no one around them. Others said to have seen ghostly figures of children running through the trees that vanished if one approached. But the curse seemed to go beyond the crash site. Only days after the accident had occurred, another bus on the same route lost its brakes and almost went off the road in that same span of roadway. He said he could see a group of children standing in the middle of the road, all staring at him with blank expressions on their faces, and swore that he just managed to stop the bus in time. He quit his job the following day, and the story traveled through town. Over the years, a number of strange events have been reported to take place with regard to school buses in Anjara. Drivers claim to hear whispers from the back of the bus when driving alone. Others even report seeing ghostly children reflected in their rearview mirrors. The incidents are so well known that many locals refuse to drive school buses through the area, especially around the site of the original crash. Though the government does its best to dismiss the stories as mere superstition, this legend has persisted to this very day. The road close to Anjara is said to be one of Jordan's most haunted places. Story has it that the spirits of the children who died in the crash still linger in this place, trapped between this world and the next. 4. The bus to nowhere. Verkhoyansk, Russia. In the year 2008, on the other side of the globe, in the distant Russian town of Verkhoyansk, a school bus full of laughing children took a wrong turn and entered the thick Siberian forest. The driver was to take the students to the village that was around where they were for a school event, but the bus never arrived. Being local and experienced in that matter, the driver had covered that route many times. But on this day, something went wrong. He reported that road signs had been altered and the region was suddenly drenched with heavy fog, which put him off course. An extensive search was mounted as the bus failed to arrive at its destination. For days, helicopters and search parties searched the forest, but there was no sign of the bus or the children. The dense Siberian forest was merciless in such things. One could come across the most treacherous terrains and wild animals. The very size of the bus and the number of children aboard made this doubly mystifying. The days turned into weeks, and hope started to fade out. The even more mystifying bus to nowhere cropped up amongst the locals. Some believed it was devoured by the forest, others that it had gone through a dimensional slip. The older lot started to remember years-old folklore, stories of the forest being haunted by spirits because of which travelers straying off of the path were never to return. Just when the town had almost accepted the loss, something strange happened. Almost 1 month after the disappearance of the bus, that same bus was found parked on the periphery of the same village where it was to arrive. The bus was completely empty. No driver or children were in it. It was covered in mud and leaves as if it had been left in the woods for weeks. The inside was damp and the seats had mildew, but there were no personal belongings or other clues as to what could have happened to the passengers. But the weirdest truly emerged when they looked at the inside of the windows. Deep scratches almost covered it, as if a person wanted desperately to claw his way out. Even a sort of blood-like stain had been left, although tests were inconclusive. The fuel tank was full when the bus had gone out of town, and now it was almost empty. The driver's logbook was missing, and the GPS was tampered with, giving out static, with data that could not be understood. They questioned everyone in the village, but no one had seen the bus's arrival, nor did anyone notice anything different in the days leading up to the children and the driver being found. Some villagers said they heard faraway cries in the night, but all of them considered those cries to be those of wild animals. The case was never solved, and the children as well as the driver were never found. It became known as the bus to nowhere, a local legend, a blood-curdling tale of how that normal school trip ended in the worst nightmare. The road to that village had been deserted, and the bus was abandoned in its place. 5. The haunted bus route. Pune, India. There is a bus route in the hustling city of Pune, India, famous for some strange happenings. The route covers some area where the occurrence of violent accidents is not new, and for the locals, it is considered a cursed place. In 2005, a chock-a-block school bus of kids was found parked by the side of the road with its engine running but no one in it. The driver was found a few miles away shortly afterwards, wandering around a bit confused and not able to remember how he came there. The children were found at the road's edge, huddled together, paralyzed with fear. They were unhurt, insisting that they had all seen the driver stop the bus abruptly and go into the forest without a word. Years afterward, other buses traveling along that same route reported weird happenings. Drivers have reported, as though pushed by an invisible force, the feeling of having to go off the road, and swore they saw ghostly figures standing ahead. However, they would disappear upon continuing to approach. In one incident, they found the bus overturned in the ditch, but miracle of miracles, not one child had a scratch. It reached a peak of gloom in 2010 when a bus with over 40 students was involved in a crash. The driver saw a ghostly figure standing on the road. Thus, confused and terrified, the driver couldn't control the bus, and it ran off the road and crashed into a tree. The driver was instantly killed. The students suffered some injuries but survived. However, each of them claimed to have seen ghostly moments before the crash. Finally, the route was abandoned after the incident, and the school district has since rerouted the buses to avoid the area altogether. Well, the tales of that haunted route persist, and today many drivers refuse to even speak of it. Even today, people in Pune speak in huffed whispers about the cursed route, warning others to avoid it at all costs. The chilling tales from this stretch of road serve as a haunting reminder of how a routine journey can turn into a nightmare. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more creepy stories. Which of these mysterious stories gave you a thrilling experience? Let us know. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are real.